Little bit of issue getting started today. I could start the stream, but I couldn't send anything to the stream. Steve Yulberg here for Dulcimer Crossing, and today this is our Wednesday live stream. I'm excited to be with you. I want to talk today about understanding and the transfer of knowledge / information. Let me open up the Facebook side of things. Things are a little discombobulated because we had a power outage last night and everything is taking a little while to get going. But now I have that feed open so I can see when you have input and questions and things like that. So understanding. When I did my Master of Music Education degree, we focused on a curriculum design model called Understanding by Design. And that was not like the throw the spaghetti against the wall to see when it sticks and just throw as much spaghetti against the wall and hope it sticks, which is kind of the broadcast model of taking seeds and throwing them out into the field rather than plowing and putting things through, or wheat drilling where you actually put a seed in a particular place and you have rows that you can cultivate later on. Broadcast model is just you throw it out there and what takes, and there's clumps of seeds and there's barren spots. The focus of an Understanding by Design curriculum is to plan everything so that students can demonstrate their understanding. And this takes me to when I first started, we started working with the platform jamplay.com, which is where I teach guitar online. There was a progress bar that could be moved by the student. And people would always ask, how do you use this? How do you know? You get 100%. When do I know for this particular lesson? Because it wasn't automatic. Now when they upgraded the system, they took away, or they made me have to go through several steps to use that the way I used it, because then they just let the progress bar tell you if you'd watched the lesson or not. But the way I used the progress bar was, if I could comprehend what the instructor was talking about in the lesson, I would give myself a third. If I could do what they were talking about, I would give myself another third. If I could show somebody else, I would give myself the final third. And then I'd have 100%. Because if I can demonstrate what I can comprehend and do, it shows I understand it. So understanding is demonstrated when you can pass it on to someone else. And if you think of all the different programs that happen in life, we have 12-step programs. The 12th step is we shared this. If I've got something good, I tell other people. We call that evangelism. Good news. I got good news for you. If some people say evangelism is just one hungry person showing the other hungry people where the food is. There's a way in which when we are moved by something, we want other peoples to know about that. Other peoples. we want to share that with other people. When we have an aha moment, we want to share that with someone else. When we have a story that's transformative, we want to share that with someone else. And there's a way in which it becomes more real for us when we can share it. If it's just something I do at home, or I think about in my head and I never actually do it, which is the Professor Harold Hill from the musical The Music Man. I don't know if you remember that one. I was in that one when I was in high school. I was the con man's friend in town. I was Marcellus Washburn, and the one trying to help him get out of town. But Professor Harold Hill would come and sell all these band instruments to a town. He'd talk about a problem they had in town, that the solution would be the band. You buy the instruments, and then he'd be on the train out of town, and the instruments would arrive, and there would be no band. People are just out their money, and now they have instruments, and they don't know how to play them. And as the story goes, he falls in love with a librarian and realizes he can't leave. There's the police and a few other people are involved, but he realizes he can't leave, and everybody's so excited because they've got the band uniforms and the band instruments, and they've never practiced. And that's been a theme throughout the show. When are we going to practice? Use the think method, boys. Use the think method. So they were thinking the music, and then it comes time for the proof in the pudding, or the test by fire. It's time. He's standing there with the police on either side and his adoring librarian. I think his hands were even in handcuffs as he was holding the baton. And he says, "Think, boys, think." And he starts conducting the band, and they play Beethoven's Minuet in G awfully. And the parents all love it because their children are playing. So, but what it shows is, if I just think about it, it's not enough. I have to be able to demonstrate it. Have to be able to do it and then demonstrate it for someone else. So that's the core understanding behind the Understanding by Design curriculum. And what my curriculum project in that class, or for that whole degree, was to put together a curriculum to teach hammered dulcimer to middle school students using a year-long curriculum with several different units and lessons within the units, and lesson plans and tasks that would demonstrate their understanding. So one of the things as an example, I always tell people in my beginning classes, here is the instrument. Here are the names, and it's got a blank piece of paper that looks like the instrument with lines going to the different things. There's an answer key, and it's your job to put the answers onto the blank piece of paper. Now, they might be side to side, they might be front and back, but the point is, you have to do the transfer of the information by yourself, because when you do, you're more likely to remember it. Once you've done the transfer of information, the next assignment is to go show somebody else. And you might show your dog, you might show your child, you might show your adult, you might show your boyfriend or girlfriend, you might show your grandparents, you might show your aunt or uncle, someone else. Doesn't matter. Show someone else, because that helps you realize what you're not remembering. It helps cement the things you are. And several of the tasks in that curriculum are based on the same thing, because they demonstrate something. I've just had this experience. I'm teaching classes this fall on my first 50 books or first 50 songs to play a mountain dulcimer. Later this morning, there will be one that's about how to adapt songs written for mountain dulcimer to hammer dulcimer. And that transfer from one instrument to another is what I want to focus on right now. If there's an instrument that you already play and you learn a piece of music on that instrument, there are some parts of that are specific to the instrument. My first instrument was obviously my voice. It is for all of us. And then there's there's percussion, then there's voice. Then my next one was piano. So I learned how to play in a very linear way. I was able to get both hands to do stuff. I refused to do the fingerings the way the teacher told me to do them. I didn't like them. I didn't want to do that stuff. I did learn how to curl my thumb under and do that. But when I was coming down it, I would always go like this. I would always walk over. And that limits it's the firm, hard stop between me and virtuosity on the piano. Because I listened to Tito Puente, who's a percussionist from Puerto Rico, talk about his piano lessons and how they helped him. And it's like, maybe if I'd actually done the things the instructor said, I could have been like Tito Puente. But I think even when we realize we have some resistance to some things, we can still overcome that. When it came to take what was going on the piano and put it on the trumpet or the harmonica, and then the guitar and the mandolin, and obviously I'm a multi-instrumentalist. I play a lot of different instruments. For me, the real power in my understanding of a song is when I can move it from one instrument to another. And I had the benefit when I lived in Fort Collins of a weekly lunchtime gig at the Deja Vu Coffee House. It's no longer there, but it was kitty corner from Colorado State University. A lot of faculty would come in for meetings or for their a department might come in and have coffee and sit around a table. The math department was one that came often. There were people who would come for lunch. I was playing 11 to 1. I was often there for that lunch hours time. And there wasn't room in this small place for me to bring all my instruments. And generally, I felt like this is a good gig if I can bring a hammer dulcimer, a guitar, and a mountain dulcimer. And then I just transfer all the instruments through my gig. And I would know kind of when my first set was up and when my second set was up based on, how many songs I'd played on an instrument. Strange method, but it's what I did. The problem was this is a very small venue, and she had to sacrifice, a couple of tables in order for me to have a place to play. And she wanted me there. She's the one who invited me to come for lunch instead of the Friday and Saturday evening thing, which is where I started playing. She wanted to hear the music and she wanted the lunchtime crowd to hear it. She also said, I only have room for you to bring one instrument at a time, but I do want to hear all the instruments. So I was like, okay, I just got commissioned. First week would be hammer dulcimer. Second week would be mountain dulcimer. Third week would be guitar. And then my task is someone might request on the guitar week a hammer dulcimer song. Can I play that on the guitar? Someone on the second week might request a guitar song. I'm playing mountain dulcimer. Vice versa. This is a mountain dulcimer song, and that just means it's one I normally play on that instrument, and they want to hear it on the hammer dulcimer. Or I started thinking, I wonder if I can play all the music that I play in the other two instruments on the hammer dulcimer. Wonder what's here when I do that. That transfer really, it takes it out of the muscle memory by rote thing, and it moves it to that level of the song isn't in my fingers, it lives in my brain. And now I'm just looking for the specific way to play it on this particular instrument. And for me, that's getting closer to that flow state. I like to say when I'm playing hammer dulcimer, it feels like I'm dancing on strings, because my favorite experience while playing is when I'm not thinking right, left, right, mark, unmark, cross the bridge. I'm beyond that, and I'm just in the song, and it's almost like my hammers hover and the string calls for the hammer it needs, is the way I describe it. It's kind of mystical. But it's when the song takes over and I'm not directing the band. And what it means is I've let the specifics of the instrument get out of the way of the tune. And I've let my anxiety about, do I know where this is here? I've let that go. Sometimes that leads to mistakes. Sometimes I forget. There are songs I don't play anymore because I can't remember them. I remember the lead up in the introduction, and it comes time to play. It's like, I have a mental block. I just can't do it. It happens. I could go back and learn a couple of those songs, I think. I just have felt like that wasn't worth my time. I'll let that one be in the archive instead of in my personal experience. Doug, you're saying your most difficult issue is when there's more than one place to find a note. Yes. When it doesn't happen, that doesn't happen on a piano or handbells or a clarinet or a flute. There may be a couple of alternating fingerings on a clarinet or flute, but there are not many. You mentioned trombone. Yes, because tubes, you can overblow and get more than one note. So closed position trombone, you can and there are places where the overtone systems cross over. Same with the trumpet. You got 3 valves, and you can play bugling. That's what a tube does. Just by keeping the valves down. You've got a do, mi, so, do, do, so, do. If every one of those positions, you've got all those notes available. So then it's about your embouchure and the speed of your air. And so then it really depends more on your ear helping you find the right the right pitch. Now, what I'm having the experience of, and this is what I want to share with you today. Let's see if I want to share a couple of, there they are. Okay, good. So I'm going to share the screen. I'll share that one. Ha! Well, it's not going to let me. It says my browser doesn't want me to share my screen. So there's more than one way to skin. Well, I won't say that. Cat lovers don't like to hear that. So this is the focus of my Dulcibro class, taking songs we already play on the mountain dulcimer. And one of the students says, I love to play Wild Mountain Time on my mountain dulcimer, but I'm having a struggle trying to transfer this 3-string music, not the music, but 3-string tablature arrangement to a 4-string slide style Dulcibro. And let's see here. I got to check my tuning just a little bit, but I also want to get my camera up here. Very good. Okay. So So it plays very nicely. I'm playing in the drone style, and I'm just playing melody notes. But it turns out, because this is a song that starts on Do and goes down below Do to So, I had to go to the middle string when I did that. When it comes time to adapting it to a 4-string slide style Dulcibro, when I tried to do it in my expected tuning, D, A, F sharp, D, I ended up having to do a lot of sliding back and forth, which makes for a less than optimal tuning situation. And and my accuracy. So let's go back there. There we go. Okay. So it turns out, because of the way when I have Do at the top and the bottom of the scale, I can go to the middle string. But it turned out that it's actually better for us when we're playing on an instrument that's tuned to an open G chord. Now, that doesn't seem to make any sense. But when I have 4 strings like this and I'm tuned D, G, B, D instead of D, S sharp, A, D, I can get the chord to line up. So the instrument itself is tuned D. To get to the D, it's tuned to G, but to be able to play a D chord while I play those other things, it really requires me to go to the 4th fret, which is G, A, B, C, D. It gets me to a 5th away from the nut. It makes me really think differently. And in order to do that, I had to transfer what I already know about the tune. Now, here's the beauty of having the tune in my head rather than just in my fingers. So in my fingers and in my head is when I get to an instrument where things are different, I can still plot it out. I can still figure it out because the tune lives in a mental map, and I can hear when it's not right, which is a key way of getting it right. Now, in this particular song, we don't do much A. In fact, none. We're playing D's and G's. There are other chords in the Mountain Dulcimer version, but when I made the transfer, I'm leaving out the B minor and the E minor. And I see in the comments you're talking about both Jim and Doug, your banjo players. Yes, this is the same as everything without the high ringing G string here that you'd be tuned to on a, or actually high G, D, G, B, D on a G tuned banjo. And if you tune it D, A, F sharp, D, you'd be in D tuning on a banjo. Yeah, exactly. So banjo players are doing that shift by retuning. And it's like, okay, now I have a little different chord shapes that are available. This is that thing that I always have people do, the Dulcimer Pledge. I am flexible, I'm versatile, I can retune. Because it opens up, I was able to play the tune on here in the D, F sharp, A, D tuning. It was very awkward and difficult. And I find that to be the case with several. It's very easy and quick to play. Let's see. Oops, get the pick out of there. To play Whiskey Before Breakfast on a mountain dulcimer, just walks right up the scale, and the hammer dulcimer walks right up the scale. And because I know that when I transfer and put it on the guitar, it means I have to play it just a little bit different. But the song being in my head makes it possible for that to happen. And that transfer of the song from one instrument to another is a demonstration that I understand the song. I understand the song. And so that's the key that I wanted us to key takeaway today. It is when we can move a song from one instrument to another, it is a demonstration of what we understand about the song. Now, here's the other side. There are things that can happen on a different instrument that may or may not match the way I'm used to playing the song. And I might have to do a workaround. I might have to leave some things out. I might get to add some things in. There's peculiarities about each instrument. And that's part of why when you listen to the band play and everybody takes their solos, it's a little different. It's not just that the player thinks of it differently, it's that the instrument plays a little differently. And I think, yes, it's very good mental gymnastics, as well as this kind of gymnastics. But one of the things it does is keep the tunes very alive, and they're not stuck in an instrument. So to Nancy Brown, the former owner of Deja Vu Coffee House, which no longer exists, there's a coffee house, but it's not hers, and it's not under that name. Thank you for giving me the restriction of one instrument a week and letting me have that gig for 10 years. A 10-year lunchtime gig, which is not when people normally pay to have music being played, in a venue where people are walking in and dropping in. I got to develop a following, in Fort Collins. I learned my chops. I was able to move my songs from one instrument to another instrument. And I mean, it's just for my musical development, there are so many benefits that came from that opportunity. And it was not when I saw it. I wanted to play at her place, but Friday and Saturday nights is when I expect, that's when music happens. That's what I thought. And she said, I miss this. I never get to be here at that time. Can you play? I want you to play when I'm here at lunchtime. Could you do that? It's like, well, whenever I'm in town, yes, I can. It turned out if I was traveling, Wednesday was often a day I was home because I was traveling for the weekends and on the times I was traveling. So I'm very grateful for the opportunity and the funnel that helped me get to a place where I learned those tunes even better. And when I got bored with the tunes, what did I do? I learned new tunes and then I put them on all the instruments. So that's the connection between understanding and transfer that we're talking about today. Tomorrow we are so excited at Dulcimer Crossing. Pam Bowman is doing a workshop for us, and she's going to use that. Let's see if I can share this. Can I share a Chrome tab? It's going to let me. Yeehaw. Pam Bowman is going to be here. And she's a hammer dulcimer player from Michigan, very exciting performer and creative with a lot of traditional tunes. The tune she's going to look at is Red Wing, very popular in the old-timey world, popular on hammer dulcimers, is very popular in Michigan and part of the Everett and the Midland festivals. But she's going to have several different ways to play the tune. So if you already know the tune or you're a little bored and looking for some variations, that's going to be here. As always, workshop and mentor level students at Dulcimer Crossing get access to that automatically. But if you click on this button, you can sign up for that workshop. And in addition to the workshop, you also get access to the archive video that follows that. Workshop and mentor level students always have access to the entire archive and can sort through those. And we've had more than a year of monthly workshops. Jim, talking about the D banjo. Yeah, what I've seen is, or what I've done before is leave, let's see, C, drop my D's to C. I got to do something with the G string, and then capo 2 and raise the high string up to an A. That's the way I've done banjo tuning for D's. But that it's also fun to talk about different tunings. And so tomorrow is that workshop. The registration for the Quarantine Festival continues through the end of the month. This Saturday is the Mountain Dulcimer Day for the Southern California Dulcimer Heritage. 6 different instructors, workshops, and concert all on Saturday. I think you can still get there with the Southern California Dulcimer Heritage Festival. I'm going to give you the link. This is their month of music. And so that's that one. The Quarantine Festival registration is open through the end of the month at virtualdulcimerfestival.com. The North Georgia Foothills Festival their registration is now open. That will take place in November. There's also a baritone dulcimer day coming up on the 12th of November, and I'm pleased to be one of the invited instructors to teach there. I'll tell you more about that as we get closer to it. Just know it's coming. I wish you all the best with your understanding and transfer, and I will look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks. Bye.